Hi, I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator. And joining me is the goddess of DC, Rayceen Pendarvis.
Bam! Greetings and salutations, all.
Joining us is at-large Councilmember Robert White. Hi.
Hey, Erin, glad to be here.
Before we start, briefly introduce yourself.
Love to. I am native Washingtonian, dad of two girls, husband of an incredible woman named Christy. And for the past almost 7 years, I've been an at-large council member and now chair of the Housing Committee on the DC Council.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on serving as the newly appointed chair of the DC Council's Committee on Housing. Can you tell our viewers about your goals and what you have accomplished and hope to accomplish as chair of that committee?
Yeah, absolutely. As a native Washingtonian who has seen most of my own family priced out of the city, it's been an honor and really a humbling experience to become chair of the Housing Committee. I had a couple goals coming into this committee. One is to really solve problems, and I'll talk a bit about that for a second. But the other is for people to understand the committee differently. And so one of my goals has been to bring the Housing Committee to the people. And so in that vein, I've been to visit public housing, private housing. I've been to tent encampments. We did our first housing and resource fair this past weekend. We have more coming up, just really making the Housing Committee tangible and reachable for people so they believe that this is a tool for them to be able to get help with their housing issues. I've also been trying to untangle some of our more complex issues, helping people who are living outside get into housing more quickly, trying to fix the DC Public Housing Agency, the DC Housing Authority, and to get more funding for housing programs that people need, like emergency rental assistance, home purchase assistance program, and things like that. So we've made a lot of progress. I have to give big thanks to my team. They have been working, night and day since we took over this committee in January. We have created new housing vouchers. We are working to reduce the amount of time that people are living outside waiting to get into housing. For the first time in DC's history, we've gotten dedicated funding for public housing maintenance and repairs. So starting in 2028, about $75 million a year will go towards public housing so we can get it permanently in better condition. We have limited rent increases and rent control units for the next 2 years. And we've gotten tens of millions of dollars for emergency rental assistance. That's just to name a few of the things we've done. We just have been working relentlessly on these issues. And I've been really proud of what we've gotten done in these past 7 months, but we have a lot more work to do.
That's amazing. And, that's a great segue into public safety is a great concern in all DC 8 wards. What's being done to make the district safer?
So when we talk about public safety, those of us in Racine, you're a lifelong Washingtonian. Many of us have the perspective of what things were like in the 80s and 90s, and we know what it is to be in a city when things don't feel safe and where violence spirals out of control. But we also know what it is to see efforts to solve public safety in a way that makes us safer for a short amount of time, but those chickens come home to roost, and there are things that we make worse if we handle public safety in the wrong way. So my belief is that you have to handle public safety in two lanes. One is response, what happens after a crime has been committed. That's where police, courts, jails, and prisons come into play. But the other is prevention. How do we stop these crimes from happening in the first place? And my belief is that there are four components on prevention. It's education, workforce, housing, and mental health. If we don't fix those four things, we will not make our city safer in a more permanent way. So the council just passed an emergency public safety bill that has a lot more to do with a response, what we do after crimes have happened. But over the summer, my team and I know many others, are really focusing on prevention. What can we do that's going to make our city safer? That's going to get these young people who are spiraling onto a productive path. That's going to get more mental health resources for people who are struggling with mental health issues. Most of us are struggling with mental health issues. We all need help, but there's not enough help to go around. So how do we address that? And how do we make sure that our schools are, to put it very frankly, educating Black and Brown students the same to the same degree that we're educating white students? And how do we get people jobs who have been in this city for decades, who are watching the city sort of grow around them and not able to find their footing in this economy? If we handle those issues, we're going to see a safer city permanently, but we're also going to see our people do better. And that's my goal.
There's so much work to be done on the prevention side, and I appreciate that you've thought about kind of the lanes that you're interested in pursuing. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about mental health and the relationship between mental health and public safety, as well as what you are trying to do at the council level legislatively to address that.
Great question, Erin. I believe that there are two kind of people. There are people who have mental health issues who know it, and people who have mental health issues who don't know it. But the reality is, all of us have our own traumas and issues, the same way we need medical doctors for broken bones and sprains. We need mental health practitioners as well. And people who are in their healthiest selves generally are not resorting to violence. So that's why we need more mental health resources. My goal as a council member is to try to solve problems, not just kind of, kick things around for someone else to solve later. And as I look at the mental health landscape, one of the great things that has happened in the past couple of years, been a difficult few years, but there's been more focus on mental health. So more people looking for mental health resources. But if you're looking for a therapist, particularly a therapist of color, you will have close to an impossible time finding one. So I'm trying to open up the pipeline of mental health practitioners. So I've worked with the University of the District of Columbia to create a free master's in social work program and a free master's in counseling program for all DC residents, so that people from our community can be part of the solution. We got this program funded in the most recent budget. We had a hearing on the permanent bill just a couple weeks ago, and I expect this program to be up and running for people to take advantage of at the beginning of 2025. Next year, we should see faculty hired. We should see UDC get accreditation. In January or early 2025, this program should be up and running. But there are also a lot of organizations that work with people who are unhoused and work in the violence prevention space who need social workers. But social workers are hard to find because there's so much demand. Well, as I researched this issue and through a lens of trying to solve the problem, I found that the two entry levels for social work, they require years of school, they require ongoing training, they require constant supervision by more advanced social workers. But as of some years ago, they require an exam where the disparity between people of color and white people who are passing this exam is completely lopsided. And there is no evidence to show that people who take the exam are better social workers than those who don't in order to become a licensed social worker. So I have a bill that would get rid of this biased exam for the two entry-level social workers and replace the exam for the more advanced social workers. So if we can get more people into the social work field, if we can, by getting rid of the exam to become a licensed social worker, and get more people into the field by making the degree program free, we're going to see a lot more people, particularly people of color and people from our communities, in this space, and we're going to see more progress across the city.
Councilmember, before we move on, I just want to express gratitude at your openness in terms of talking about how we all face mental health challenges. I very much appreciate that you're open to talking about mental health issues that way, and want to give a shout out to Councilmember Trayon White, who has also spoken openly about seeing a therapist. And it's it's part of what helps us get over any stigma attached to it. And I very much appreciate that.
Well, let me say one clarifying thing since you made that point. I think it's an important one to get rid of the stigma. I see a therapist as one of the most important things for me in my life and my mental health. And I encourage others to do the same, to seek out a therapist.
That's so important, tending your mental garden.
That's
And
right.
it's important that everybody takes care of that, however they see fit, whether it's one-on-one, group, do what you need to do and seek someone who celebrates you and not tolerates you,
That's right.
and that's so important when you talk about mental health. But in recent years, the LGBT community has experienced a resurgence of opposition and bigotry, making allyship as important as ever.
Yeah.
What is your message for members of my community who feel scared and uncertain about the future?
Yeah. My message is this: the district has been for a long time an affirming place for all people, particularly the LGBTQ community. And it is one of the things that has set the city apart and made it so rich in terms of our culture and our community. And we all need to make sure we are paying attention. Don't take this issue for granted just because we live in DC, because if we stop focusing on making sure DC is inclusive and affirming, then that could change right underneath us. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen. We also need to remember to lean on our allies, and allies need to remember to be there for the people that we love and need to support. Not always the ones talking, but more frequently the ones listening. Because when we look at the progress we have made over time, whether it be the LGBTQ movement, women's liberation, civil rights, all of the major movements in our country have required the help and support of allies, but not just allies sort of, in talk, but allies in action. So lean on allies, and allies do more listening than talking. Because we don't have all the answers, but we can help be part of the solution as long as we are listening.
Incredible.
I love that point of view.
Councilmember, tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what's upcoming. What citizens and residents should be paying attention to.
Two major things. One is public safety. Again, on the prevention side, there are so many aspects to this. Housing, as I mentioned, is one of them. Education is one of them. Jobs and mental health. I've really put a lot of my focus on housing and mental health. You will continue to see a lot of movement in those two fields. Pay attention, give me feedback. I don't mind criticism, so reach out, whether you like it or don't like it, let me and my team know. In the housing space specifically, I'm going to continue working aggressively on public housing. We have got to get it to a better place. We've made a lot of progress in the past 7 months, but we still have a long way to go. So again, residents, pay attention and give me feedback. On housing vouchers, we've been working with the administration, with nonprofit organizations, and with people with lived experiences to reduce the amount of time it takes to get someone from being, approved for a housing voucher to being into their home. I'm working very diligently on that issue to make sure we reduce that amount of time. Right now, if you go out into the district and you see tent encampments, chances are the majority of people you see in that encampment have been approved for a housing voucher, but they get stuck there for 1, 2, 3 years. That needs to change from years to months, and then we will see a reduction in homelessness and a lot of the other issues that come with it. So we're going to be working very vigorously on that, and I'm going to continue along with my team to make myself and the committee more present in the community. The things you'll see us out visiting housing, you'll see us out doing housing fairs and talkbacks. The things you won't see are the mini meetings that we're doing with agencies and organizations just to get smarter, a lot of listening, a lot of learning so that we can make a real and tangible difference in this city. So lots more to come this calendar year. I'm really excited and want to give another shout out to my team, Sean Hilgendorf, Sean Cuddy High, Caitlin Kachalova, and Nia Evering. They are just doing incredible work in the housing committee. So if you see them out in the streets, just say thank you to them because I'm working them hard and they are getting it done.
We love a council member who thanks their staff. So kudos for that. And thank you for your dedication to these issues, which are quite large. So they take persistence and dedication and a whole lot of work. And I hope you know that we also support your efforts. Council member, please tell our viewers how they can stay in touch with you and learn more about what you are doing.
Yes. Most importantly, sign up for our newsletter. You will get a lot of information on housing and other issues, including resources on social media. It's Councilmember _Robert White on Instagram, CM Robert White DC on Twitter, and Robert White at large on Facebook. Email me, rwhite@dccouncil.gov. However you reach us, and if we can help, we are going to help.
Great, thank you so much for joining us today. Rayceen, will you take us out?
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
Viewers, thank you for watching.